Well, hello, friends, and welcome to the From Busy to Rich podcast, where we help financial advisors grow their businesses beyond the products they sell and the assets they manage, increase profitability, and reclaim their time by providing strategies and insights that will not only change your life, but practice. With me today, as always, Wes Young. Wes, it's good to see you again.
You too, Justin. Looking forward to continuing on our topic here.
Yeah, me as well. It's been an interesting topic, what we're talking about, really building a rich business life. And I know that's got a lot of different definitions, I think, depending on who's listening. So if you would, I'd like to start with just a brief recap. What we talked about last time, some of the lead up and the components here, before we dive into the meat of what I think today's conversation is around, and it's a lot more specifics on some of the things that we discussed. So I think it'll be a good highlight opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of did it around this quote that we use a lot, which is that it's not the shortage of time that should worry us, but rather our tendency to use time in low quality ways. And so we teased that out a lot. We kind of talked about how all of us at different times in our lives have observed, man, if I'd just been doing what I'm doing now back then, how much further along would I be? What the things I spent time on that were not paying me the kind of dividends to inherit the future that I wanted most. And so we started off with really a very simple idea that we need to be reminded of regularly, is that you've got to start with clarity of what do you want? Like, what is it that you believe a rich life looks like 3 years from today, 1 year from today, 90 days from today? And then over the next 90 days, what are you going to do about it? And we broke that down into a very specific application for our business life and the things you need, the 3 economic drivers, the things that should go into your vision in addition to whatever else you want to put in there from a business standpoint if you're going to run a holistic fee-based financial planning company. And then we started talking about, and we gave you a tool for that, by the way. So it's going to be linked in the show notes, the peak performance tool that we use every 90 days to kind of renew our minds to this and really not let the resistance between like the life we're living and the unlived life within us is really oftentimes competition for our attention. And so we want to pay attention to the things that actually move the needle the most, that are going to get us to the future that we want the most, where we don't live life by default, but we live it by design. And so then we kind of got to this place of, all right, then what do we need to do to orchestrate that, where it's not just a vision we did and put in a drawer and a 90-day action plan that we put in a drawer or kept in a computer file, but actually took it and put it on the calendar. And the analogy we love for this is like an orchestra warming up is incredibly noisy. It sounds noisy. There's nothing cohesive with it. Everybody's playing different scales at different time frames and different rhythms. And then the conductor orchestrates that orchestra. Conductor gets up there and gets everybody quiet, and then gets them on the same sheet of music and gets them the same pace and the same tone, same rhythm. And it's beautiful music. And so for anybody, whether you are the team or you have a large team or a medium-sized team or small team, having an ideal calendar is that you have blocks scheduled to do certain activities is imperative to the long-term health of your growing organization. And so what we started exploring these time blocks, and these time blocks really, I said there's 3 things that all of us do if you're engaged in this kind of business: is you prepare for meetings, you have meetings, and then you manage projects from those meetings. Where we started out was kind of the bookends to that, which is like preparing your mind and preparing your body, and then making sure that at the end of the day, that's the beginning of the day, end of the day, you have a time block where you're kind of cleaning up the messes of the day, because everything changes. It's always, Mike Tyson used to say, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And that's true of any day. It's like we got a plan and we get punched in the face. And so, and sometimes they're good. They're like the good things that happen. So it's not always like it's a punch in the face, but both are going to happen. Good things you didn't like or plan for, but whatever, they happen. So in light of that, a lot of meetings canceled, moved, rescheduled, got added. There's requests of me. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do in light of that new information with the rest of my week? And so we kind of landed the plane there last week, So today, what I want to do is continue on with what other blocks of time do you need in your calendar? If those are everyday things, what else needs to fit in there that may be different one day to the next?
Yeah, I think it's such a critical starting point. You've got a rhythm of how you start your day, how you're ending your day. It really gives you that lasting capability of not just surviving, but where you're really thriving regardless of
Yeah.
the seasonality or the changes. And that ability to, like you said, create a response plan to whatever new came in. Because
Yep.
I could be playing, I've got little kids, and I'm sure you remember when your kids were little, like you could be playing, and next thing you know, you're catching a toy across the face and it
Yeah.
changes the dynamics, right? Like
Yeah.
swing the bat a little too closely, and now you're seeing stars. So,
Right.
but, but I do think it is critical. And I know for me, the biggest thing is being able to end and like take the stuff out of my brain because I know like I've got it down somewhere and now have rebuilt in the new information into the plan moving forward to where then I can go be present with everything after the fact, like dramatically adds to my quality of life as well. And I know personally a lot of advisors that it seems like they're just running constantly and burning that candle on both ends. And
Yeah.
that makes it really hard to ever be present because the point isn't just to build a better business, to build a better business and a rich business life.
Yeah. Well, there's a great quote. It says, "The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot." And most people don't understand they're actually the pilot, right? They're just like, I'm on a hand glider and I have no steering capability, it's just blowing me wherever. That is the truth for a lot of people, but you didn't have to be that way. And so deciding in advance the important things you need in your week to do the work you're going to do, and then staying to that rhythm is critically important. So, here's kind of the breakdown as it relates to now. We've kind of got those bookends that we've talked about, jumping into the rest of your week. So for us on Mondays, actually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and in a different way in Thursday, and I'll talk about it. We have something called daily headline meeting because we're a large team, and so when you're a large team, people need to know different things to do their job well. And if you're a large team that does not have a daily headline meeting, you are going to create a ton of unnecessary administrative burden and interruption to your normal flow state. Because we need to stay in a flow state. No matter what your job is, having allocated time that's uninterrupted to be able to do the thing without it being interrupted regularly, critically important to your effectiveness and using your time in high quality ways. So daily headlines, just this. It's Cheryl runs it, and she kind of goes on and it's a quick 15-minute Zoom where everybody just goes around and says, okay, Wes, you go. I need this from you, Justin. I need an answer to this question. What about this? Where are we at with this? From you, Kara, from you, Stephanie. And so everybody takes turns. In quick 15 minutes, we kind of get what we need, and then we jump back into our day. Now, here's why this is so critical. Because if you don't have that, those conversations still need to happen. And the way they typically happen is in a very haphazard, unrhythmic, unorganized way. It's like an orchestra warming up. So if you show up to a physical office space every day, this is have you think even more magnified because you walk through the room and everybody's like, Justin, hey Justin, I got a question for you, Justin. Or you're right across the room, so like, hey Justin, let me just interrupt what you're doing.
Oh
And
yeah.
you
Reminds
know,
me of the bull. The remember being in the bullpen
oh yeah, oh
when
yeah,
you're in New York. How difficult was it to get anything done when you're in there?
yeah. The and it's just for those of you for context that might not know this. So when we started in this business, they had like cubicles in one giant room, and everybody had their cubicle. I mean, you could hear what everybody else is doing, and it was just terrible. And what I learned there is people that didn't want to do much wanted to do it with me. They just kept coming over and talking to me and asking questions, or if they had a question. And one of my friends coined the phrase. He didn't say it this way. He said it a different way, but I'll say it this way: that people here constantly just come and poop in your inbox, and and it's like that. Hey, they just walk up to you, poop right in your inbox, right? So now when you have a high functioning team, people want to get stuff done. Progress and the thing they're working on is important to them. Here's what we've learned: there is rarely anything that can't wait till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning for me to get my answer to it. And if there is, if it's an emergency or or something really like I need this now because of some XYZ reason, we do, everybody's adults, we give you the liberty to, call the audible. This play that I'm running requires me to go outside our normal system, right? So we need to do this. But if that becomes the rule rather than the exception, then really it's probably a preparation or a structure problem on the team's part. So thoughts on that before I keep going?
No, it just reminds me, I heard a quote once, and I don't know who this is attributed to, but ultimately somebody else's failure to plan does not necessitate like an emergency for me.
Yeah, right. Right.
That
That's right.
is understanding, and I think that's really hard in this business, especially when you're starting out, to give yourself some grace and remind yourself not everything that you're treating like a fire is truly a fire.
That's right. That's right. It's a great point. So we were teaching the last of this class's Transform Learning series. So session 11 remote. We're about to have everybody down next week for the deep dive here in Austin. And we were talking about this topic. And one person brought up, they said, what about when clients do that to you though? Like a client they don't know your block calendar. They haven't agreed to it, right? And they just want to blow up your calendar. They want to meet days that you don't want to meet. They send an email. They want an immediate response to it. And I said, well, let's just tactically think about how you deal with that. Is again because most people just want to know it's being handled and getting done. So there are like service response standards that you can put in place or your team can put in place. Because again, where I get pushback a lot, especially people who are in service roles, who may be answering the main line for your clients, if you have a main office line, it's like, well, but I can't block my calendar because like so and so calls with this request, and I'm like, well, let's assess what that is. If the client sends you an email or shoots you leaves you a voicemail and says, hey, I need to change my address. Is that an emergency? Is that like we need to? So, but don't leave them hanging. Just shoot them back a note. Say, hey, no problem. We handle all those kind of surveys requests in the afternoons, and so I'll get to the. I'll put that on the list. I'll change it when it's complete. I'll shoot you confirmation no later than tomorrow morning. And so it doesn't have to. Or some things we get client requests like, Wes, I'm thinking about doing this business, and I had this tax question. Is this something I can do? And I'll say, you know what? Let me process on that. I've got, we're right in the middle of our mid-year meetings. Is it okay if I get back to you on Friday afternoon with the answer or a status update? And most people are like, yeah, that's fine. No problem. And so you can, again, like Dr. Phil, right? We teach people how to treat us. And so if you have that client that's like, I can only meet at night on the weekend, or on Monday when we're doing our prep, or Friday when you just say, well, we don't meet people at those times. So I've got an open calendar. I can meet you anytime. These times, those times are reserved for our prep, so we can have excellent meetings with you. And then we clean up the messes at the end of the week. And then weekends I'm spending time with our family, and evenings, we have to be off. Your doctor, you would never say, hey, I can only meet with you on Sunday at 4. You just wouldn't, right? Or my office opens at 8. I'd like to meet with you at 6:30 in the morning. It's none of those. So again, if somebody who is that wired that way, who's like, well, I won't work with you unless you want to do that, probably don't want to work with that person, right?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
you gotta set some guardrails there. But those are it's a great way to not blow you up and to have a lot of efficiency in your system. So continuing on Monday, Monday's our prep day. So what I begin to do as the lead advisor right after that meeting is I watch a series of prep videos. And because our process, if you listen long enough, and if you haven't, go back and listen to some or jump into Transform with us on the next go around. I watched this series of videos where whoever was preparing, the project manager, paraplanner, was preparing for all the meetings I was going to have the next week, or maybe in the next couple of weeks. When their head was around it, right? When they had studied and kind of done the hour prep or whatever it was for that client, prepared for the kind of meeting, and we have whole checklists and videos on what we expect in different kinds of meetings. They did all that. And then before they moved on to the other 12 that they needed to prepare and go through a whole weekend and to then meet with me on Monday and try and talk to me about it, they put their mind in a vault. The mind vault method is what we call it. They recorded a quick video with their screen showing the things they were going to show during the meeting, showing the agenda, talking through all the things, the strategy summary, what's not been done, what's upcoming, what's next, any collateral based on the kind of meeting I was going to have. And so I watched, and so I just go through and watch that 5-minute Loom video, use whatever you want to record, it doesn't matter. And then I can pause that video and I can look intently at what they're showing if I need to, if it's a balance sheet or illustration or something like that. I make notes in the agenda. And then at the end of that 5-minute watch, I can then send that paraplanner project manager a quick email that says, hey, everything looked good. Here's a couple changes I would make to the balance sheet because this was wrong or this wasn't on there. And also add this to the agenda. And so it's very effective. So I can prepare for all those meetings, and I don't have to have them like trying to get their mind back around it again. And then I do that. I also, as you know, we operate off this monthly strategy summary. So every one of our clients, even when once they've been with us, every month they're going to get a strategy summary. And that strategy summary is going to say what's in progress, what's upcoming, what's on hold. And so what happens is our project manager will get prompted from our task management system, time to look at this client's strategy summary again. They'll go through it and they'll update anything that's not been updated on it, because they're managing they're building the house for the client. If you can imagine, we're building a house right now. We have a project manager. His job is to make sure that everybody knows when it's their turn. Everybody knows when they're dragging their feet and stuff needs to get done, and that we're kept up to speed on here's what's happening, and here's what you can expect next, and here's the next timeline that we're going to focus on. So very similar in this. Then they set that to come to me at 8:00 on Monday morning. So I might get 5 in a week. I might get 15 in a week, depending on, the cadence and the clients. And I get to look at them and go, okay, it renews my mind to nothing's falling through the cracks. We know where we're at with all these projects for this client. Or it can force me to go, hey, this has been out there too long. And a good project manager is going to intuitively look for that. And before it gets to me, say, hey, I recognize this one's been out too long. Here's what I'm doing about it. Newer ones, or ones that maybe shouldn't be project managers long term, they're not going to do that. You're gonna have to tell them, and well, this is taking too long. We need to, move it forward. So I can quickly respond, and then those go out later in the week to the client. So that's kind of my morning. I do that all the way till about 11:30, and I usually am done before then. So you can then stop and check emails or whatever else you need to do. But for that moment, my head's down and I'm working it. Before I move on to what we do next, Justin, any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I just would want to add, like, for those of you listening, if you're a solopreneur, right, like you don't have a big team yet, this still applies. If
Yes.
we didn't have a team, then what I would be doing during that same time is I'd be doing those preps and outlining everything, and then I would still be recording those videos just like we are now, so that later in the week, one, it gives me a chance to practice. How's the flow of this look? Does it trigger
Yeah.
anything? It's amazing sometimes when you're in the weeds and you're prepping something, you don't see it the same way or catch it the same way as when you're going to explain it to somebody else and walk somebody
You
through
bet.
it. So it gives you an opportunity to practice it, and you'll find other things. I do it every time. And then now I've got, to your point, the mind vault method. We've got this thing vaulted. So when I go into my meetings, and by the time Thursday hits, I've been responding to other emails, other client meetings,
Yeah.
things get blurry, right? I'm not going back through on Thursday to figure out where things are. I'm going to watch my 5-minute video of me doing it,
Right.
renews my mind to what we've already established, and then I'm ready to go into the session that much clearer and that much cleaner, because now I've also already practiced it once. Now I'm refreshed and I'm ready to go. So just want to say, like, it is critical, I think, if you want to do this business and grow at any level of capacity, you're going to have a lot of meetings. You've got to find a way to capture it versus having to go back through the process every single time. I just don't see how that's feasible.
Yeah. No, I can't stress enough how critical that has been to our organization's effectiveness, efficiency, quality of life, and profitability. Um, so so embrace that. Then we all meet as a planning team. So our lead advisors, our paraplanners, project managers, we all meet for an hour on a Zoom and talk about a couple things. One is we've pretty much have taken care of most of the planning. If anything was unclear, maybe that gets brought up there. But what we each do is walk through what are, based on our 3 economic drivers, what are the things in each of these meetings do we see new progress being made in any of those areas? So let's say, like, so we walk through our calendar. I say, well, the meeting with this family, they're already on annual retainer with us. It's their mid-year strategy session. I've observed that they have money that's sitting in fixed assets that's not the most effective fixed asset. So it's probably time to reposition some of this over into a good fixed solution, like we love to use overfunded insurance as a component in their family bank as the fixed asset. Could be a fixed annuity if that makes sense for that family, or an index flex type of approach, whatever it might be. But I'm speaking to it in that moment. Could be hey, there's new AUM, right? There's I need to push money from the fixed into the variable because markets are compressed. So let's go ahead and I'm going to be adding money to AUM, or they got an inheritance and that needs to come over, or whatever else you wanted. I'm talking to them about what if scenarios. So they need a little more death benefit because their situation's changed. Long-term care may be something, disability if that's what you're doing. Or if it's a new client, let's say you're in the expectation phase. Hey, this is an expectation meeting, so we're going to probably charge, if they agree to move forward, a $20,000 financial planning fee for this engagement, whatever it is. But the deal is what you measure, and if we're measuring those economic drivers of commissions, of assets that we manage, and of retainer fees. Because if we're doing all those things, it's not about those things, right? It's about if we're following our process to help people increase their profitability and quality of life, those things are a byproduct. But we got to talk about them so that you don't get somebody who has, like, they get comfortable in, well, we're going to have a great meeting and talk about where they came from, where they are now. But if the eye can only see, the ear can only hear what the brain's looking for. If they haven't gone, wait, what are there any opportunities I'm not thinking about? And those economic drivers are ways for you to trigger your brain to look for, is there something here that I might have forgot to talk to him about? Oh, you have that cash. We definitely should put it in a better pocket. Oh, markets are down. We should move money in to take territory. So you got to talk about it, and that's what a lot of helps you pay attention in a different way. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think just it illustrates the point of, nobody's in this business as a nonprofit where you get paid for the services that you provide. And
Yeah.
I think it some people may see like, oh, we're focused on driving business. No, focus on adding value. Like, are we finding ways to continue to increase profitability and quality of life in our clients? Or are we having meetings for the sake of having a meeting?
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
if that doesn't benefit anybody, like, we need to have a meeting for the sake of having a meeting. We need to have a meeting with an intention. Like, how are we moving forward? Even if it is a check-in, you haven't heard from somebody, something happened, they had a medical condition. That's a meeting with an intention and a purpose. But all too often, I see plenty of advisors' calendars that may be full, but it's not actually driving anywhere. It's not
Yeah.
helping anybody further down any road other than just
Yeah.
checking in or having general information.
Oh, yeah. No, that is a great point. As we go in and, like, audit advisor practices, and they're saying, my weeks are full, I'm having plenty of meetings. We say, okay, well, walk me through, like, what you're going to do in that meeting. And the quality is so poor or so scattered, and the rhythm of their year is so unintentional. I'm like, you could have less meetings and be way more effective if you were better at preparing for, being delivered about, and then cleaning up after the outcomes of those meetings. So I agree with you 100%. After that meeting, what we do is we really have more flex time. So if I need to go back and watch some more prep videos because it's a really heavy week and I didn't get to them all, or there's just other things, bigger projects I'm working on, I kind of use that afternoon to do that, and really get myself in just a good place to where what the difference is, I come in on Monday and there's always weight there, particularly right now because we have our mid-year strategy sessions. And then as soon as I get clear by watching those 5-minute Loom videos, all of a sudden the weight of that week begins to shrink. And then by the time I'm at the end of the day, I am light. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of meetings, but I know exactly what we're going to do. I'm confident about it. I know what any other requests I've had have been made. And then I do that cleanup of the day. So that's a Monday. That's a prep day. Now, I promise the rest of this is going to go really fast. So that sounded like a lot. Um, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are all days that are primarily client meeting days. So during mid-years, it's a whole lot of existing client meetings. We're always onboarding new. We're always moving people like on their onboarding phase through the process. But a lot of existing client meetings. Through year ends, it's the same. A lot of those, and we've talked about what the constitutes those meetings. So you're having those meetings during the week, but you start your day the same, you end your day the same. And then Thursday, the only difference is we have a more extended team meeting. And for us, it's instead of just the headline, we do a what we call a growth and development meeting where the team is reading something together, a book together, maybe about business, maybe about just living a better life because everything affects everything else. Maybe it's a TED talk we're watching together or a short little reels or YouTube that we watch. Um, Podcasts, whatever it is, it's just to have time to go, hey, how do you think about this? And it's stopping and being mindful about truths about life that may apply to how we're living out our lives. So it's a really fun interaction point. Then we do a deeper staff meeting where we talk about what is our win organizationally and why does it matter. We talk about our key performance indicators. Where are we relative to where we said we wanted to be over this 90-day period? And where are we relative to where we want to be over the course of the year? What are our lead indicators? How are those doing? And that for advisors could be number of quality meeting hours per week. It could be you can measure whatever you want, but sometimes when you just measure numbers, those are more lag indicators. They're like what the results of what you did. And lead indicators are what are the inputs that you can measure every week to see, are we trending in a direction that's going to give us the highest probability for the lag indicator we want? So we talk about all those things. And then we talk about what we're working on that we need help with, any more like big picture initiatives we've been trying to make normal. And usually that lasts about an hour and a half between all those things. Then we jump right back into client meetings. Then Friday's a different day. So we don't have a daily headline meeting on Friday. Usually for me, just because of my role, I'm doing one-on-one meetings with our different members on our team. And just it's a different time for us to interact, talk about specific things that may not be relevant for everybody to talk about. Also, just things they're working on, how they're trying to get better, any insights I can offer. And then I'll usually have questions for them to think about to help me think through some things that we're working on. And then lunch, it is the one time I would, you guys know we're a remote team and most of our meetings are remote. It's the one time I like to have an on-location meeting, and I usually have a lunch. One of my local friends that I enjoy hanging out with anyway, we'll go to lunch, but most of my friends are also my clients. So we end up talking about stuff, and it's just a fun way to kind of end the week. That afternoon is flex time. I can use it for whatever I want to just kind of clean up the week and that sort of thing. I don't have any meetings on the weekends, neither does anybody on our team. We reserve those as free days. And don't deviate from that. That's pretty much our scope. So just I know that's a lot that we've covered in a short period of time, but any other thoughts on any of that?
No, I think if you were just going to summarize for us, it's Mondays and Fridays are really about focus kind of on the business, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really about the administrative components, the preparation, the servicing, and everything else. And then the 3 days in the middle, again, going back to bookends, the 3 days in the middle, that's in the business direct with clients. And that's whether you're a lead advisor directing meetings with the clients and talking about new business or new opportunities or what we're looking for or a certain project. Or on the servicing side, it could be meeting with clients to get things signed, get updates done, new address changes completed, like you mentioned, like
Yeah.
whatever the components are. But then you mentioned 3 days, like that's equally critical on the weekends, like, or whatever those days are. We were in Strategic Coach, you mentioned that they would define these as buffer days, or the days where it's more the administrative focus versus the focus days being the client centric component. It's interesting, and you probably get a lot of pushback, but if you look at it from just the work week, I mean, that's about 60% client meeting focus and 40% focused on the business and the service that we provide and the preparation. And
Yeah.
that's probably upside down for a lot, or
Totally.
extreme for a lot of people. I know when I started, it felt like I had to be at least 80, 90% like in meetings versus the time I spent doing the business and everything else. But just what we found in the way that we do business, it's funny how when we spend a lot of time in prep and increase the quality, we have better meetings, better service, we do more business, and the referral stream is substantially better to where we're not out having to look for business. Instead, people are attracted to the types of service.
Absolutely. No, I think all that's great, Justin, and for everybody listening, go to the site. You can get these tools we talked about today, including our Triple T tool, which we'll add in there, that just helps you organize all the activities that have to go on in a business, and really, what's your ranking on should you be doing them or should someone else do them? So you can read all about that. We've got whole podcasts on it as well. But look forward to seeing you again or hearing you again next week.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed.